goals. So lesson 20 is what we just did. We want to be able to solve problems by writing and solving inequalities in one variable. Writing them from scratch is like the hardest part, right? That's like the biggest hurdle. It's a lot easier when they just give it to you. But I say like just still look for the totals. But this time, instead of it being next to an equal sign, it's going to be next to one of the 4 inequality symbols. And for one of the 4, it's going to be something like signal words that say at least, at most, maximum of, more than, like literally different than just one answer. So keep that in mind. And when we're analyzing the structure of an inequality in one variable to solve, you know, it's the same exact steps as when you're solving an equation. So if you don't have those steps memorized, commit them to memory, put them on a note card, make a Quizlet, do the little like where it makes the flashcards on your phone and just do them whenever you're bored. There's plenty of ones that are already made that can help you. And then lastly, answering questions and like interpreting based on the situation. So you'll still get lots of practice on these skills in the rest of the lessons, but like I said, we're testing by next Friday. So no chances to fall behind. You really need to stay on top of it, including the practices. So I try to like give you enough time before I put in the grade based on the 80% or higher. I do try to like look back and update it when I can, but I'm not looking super far back. So if you want the points for getting 80% or higher after the fact, you might just have to tell me. But for algebra, it auto updates. For math lab, I have to put it all in. So if you're wanting those math lab points after the fact, let me know. But today it's the 80% or higher on the lesson 20. If you still have questions on the others, you know, it's totally fine. You should ask those questions and make sure you understand those because you're quizzing on those 3 lessons tomorrow. All right, just last half of the class, however far we get. So questions, comments, concerns? All right, if you need the note sheets, like, you know, help yourself, they're right here. Sure your notes are already and helpful for those quizzes. But now you're doing the practice, 80% or higher. Lynn is solving this inequality. She knows the solution to the equation is x equals 1. Complete the following to explain how Lynn can determine whether x is greater than 1 or x is less than 1. So she can substitute a greater number than 1 into the inequality and see if it's true. So, like, what's a number that is greater than 1? Give me an example. 2. So if I plug it into the inequality, it would be 15 minus 2, which is what? What is minus 2? Is 13 less than 14? So then what this is saying is if it is true, then it is or is not a solution. So x less than 1. Or sorry, x greater than 1. So we just tested it out. If we're plugging in a number that's greater than 1, like we plugged in 2. And we saw that it produced something that is true, 13 is less than 14, then is this the solution? If it makes something that's a true statement, is that it? So then you should be picking the one that has that inequality for the solution. Because it is true. If it produces something that is not true, then that means the other one where x is less than would be the solution. Because if you tested, seeing if it's greater than would be a solution and it's true, then that's it. If not,
then it must be the other one. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions from this practice? Faith? The Diego one. All right. So Diego's goal, that one, or is there's multiple? Okay. So Diego's goal is to walk more than 70,000 steps this week. The mean number of steps that he walked during the first 4 days is 8,019, which inequality expresses the mean number of steps S that Diego needs to walk during the last 3 days of this week to walk more than 70,000 steps. So first, I would tell you to look at your totals first. But if you look at all your answer options, they all have the total of 70,000 and they all have the same exact symbol. So we can't eliminate anything based on that, but that's usually an easy way to eliminate stuff. So we must have to look at the other things that are involved. It says that the mean, which was another word for mean, average. So on average, for the first 4 days of the week, he walked 8,019. So, I mean, that's on average. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what he walked each day. But when you average it out, that's how many so far in the week. How many days total are in a week? So we have now 3 days unaccounted for. So we know that the first 4 are on average that much. So for which inequality that represents that, what one would you guys say? Okay, you're saying A. Anyone else want to throw something out there? Because A would suggest, because he wants to walk more than 70,000 steps this week. And when we're talking about average, we would estimate that that's what he did each day so far, not like the total he's walked so far. If that's his average, that means each day he walked about 8,000. So really 8 times 4 is like 32,000 steps already done. So I wouldn't say that it's A for that reason, because that would imply that that's what he walked, when really he walked about that much a day. Does that make sense? So probably one of these two where they're timing the 4 by this. But then this part is different. So which one would make more sense to do that? And it says that S is for steps, the average number of steps that you would need to walk.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think so too. Let me see what it says. And that's right. What is this one? Yeah, because average is like, I don't know how to explain it. But like if the average temperature this week is 100 degrees, it's 100 degrees each day versus like just the total amount of degrees all week. All right, any others from this one or any other practices this week? I haven't put in the scores for yesterday's practice yet for the math lab, so. The Claire one in this one? Okay. Let's see. Yes. All right. So Claire made an error when solving this. What error did she make? So follow those steps that we talked about yesterday and also mentioned today. First step would be to distribute if necessary. Does she need to distribute in this? No. So move on to step 2. Does she need to combine like terms in this one? So move on to step 3. Does she need to move the variable to one side? Or is there already just one variable on one side?
So then now we're just to the part where she has to isolate the variable, but still like go through that process each time. Sometimes they don't distribute first and it's not necessarily wrong, but that's a good method of solving. So when you're isolating the x, start with what's farther. So that looks like what she did. How did she get rid of the 3? Subtracted it, and that is what you're supposed to do. Cancel it out. And then what you do on one side, you do to the other. So far, that is what you would get, so no disagreements there. Now to isolate the x here, what's opposite of multiplying the -4? So we're gonna divide it on each side. Whatever you go on one side, the other side. And 20 divided by -4 is a -5. But what's like the only difference between inequalities and equations when it comes to solving? That you have to flip the inequality symbol when you do what? When you divide by a negative on each side, or when you have to multiply a negative on each side. Those are the two situations. So the mistake is that she left it the same, when really it should be x greater than -5. So the one that mentioned that, she did find the correct value of x. She correctly divided both sides by -4. There's a typo there, but forgot to flip the sign due to multiplying or dividing a negative. So yeah, that one. Let me make sure it's marked right and I'll fix that typo too.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one. Because subtracting 3 was a correct move. I don't know what they mean by identified the wrong side of -5 for the solution. I don't know what they mean by that. And then the correct value of x at which the left side is equal, not, and then there's no way your inequality symbol will become an equal sign. So that's why it's not that one. All right. Any others for now? All right. Okay, and keep going. Try to get at least one submission in while you're in here. And then of course you do get multiple. If you need more than just the 2 you're automatically given, please ask, but the goal is 80%.